You've been told your whole life that the key to building wealth is spending less. Save more. Cut expenses. Stop buying things you don't need. And look, there's truth in that. But there's also something nobody tells you. And it's this. Some of the wealthiest people you'll ever meet aren't the ones who spent the least in their 20s. They're the ones who spent on the right things. Because it turns out, there's a category of purchase that doesn't drain your wealth. It generates it. Not investments in the traditional sense. Not stocks or real estate. I'm talking about specific, tangible things you can buy in your 20s for surprisingly little money that pay you back for the next 40 years in saved money, earned income, better health, and compounding opportunities. And most people never make these purchases because they look like expenses. But they're not expenses, they're infrastructure. Today, I'm going to walk you through 7 of them. Not obvious stuff like buy an index fund, actual purchases, things you put in your cart, in your kitchen, on your bookshelf, or in your calendar. And by the end of this, you'll understand that the smartest financial move in your 20s isn't always saving $1. Sometimes it's spending $1 on the right thing. My name is Max, and I want to help you learn how to make your money work more for you in your life. This channel is about understanding money at a deeper level. Not just the don't spend part, but the spend strategically part that separates people who build wealth from people who just accumulate it slowly. If that resonates, subscribe, because we dig into this every week. Here's the conventional wisdom. Every dollar spent is a dollar lost. And if your only mental model is saving equals good, spending equals bad, then every purchase feels like a step backward. But that model is incomplete. It doesn't account for what I call return-generating purchases, spending that produces more value than it costs over time. A $200 purchase that saves you $50 per month for 10 years isn't an expense. It's a $5,800 investment with a 2,900% return. But your brain files it under spending because you handed over money and received a product. The category is wrong, and the wrong category leads to the wrong decision. Think about it this way. A farmer who refuses to spend money on seeds because spending is bad will never have a harvest. The seeds are an expense only if you eat them. If you plant them, they're an investment. The 7 purchases I'm about to describe are seeds. They look like spending. They function like planting, and the harvest shows up every year for decades. But here's where it gets really interesting. Let me walk you through them, and I think you'll be surprised by what's on the list. The first purchase is a quality mattress. I know, not what you expected, but hear me out. The average person sleeps about 230,000 hours in their lifetime. In your 20s and 30s alone, you'll spend roughly 60,000 hours sleeping. And sleep quality affects literally everything. Your cognitive performance, your emotional regulation, your immune system, your productivity, your decision making. Research from the University of Pennsylvania found that people who slept 6 hours a night for 2 weeks performed cognitively at the same level as someone who hadn't slept at all for 2 days. They just didn't realize how impaired they were. A good mattress costs $800 to $1,500 and lasts about 10 years. That's 22 cents to 41 cents per night. And if better sleep improves your work performance by even 5%, which the research suggests is conservative, the impact on your income over 40 years is staggering. A 5% performance improvement on a $50,000 salary is $2,500 per year. Over 40 years, with raises compounding on top, that's roughly $150,000 to $200,000 in additional lifetime earnings from a mattress. The $1,200 mattress isn't an expense. It's one of the highest returning investments you'll ever make. And yet most people in their 20s sleep on the cheapest thing they can find because a mattress is just a mattress. The second purchase is a professional credential or certification in your field, not a full degree. A targeted credential that signals expertise in a specific in-demand skill. Something like a PMP, a Google Analytics certification, an AWS credential, a CPA, whatever is relevant to your career path. The average cost is $500 to $3,000, including study materials and exam fees. The average salary increase from a relevant professional certification is 10 to 15%. On a $55,000 salary, that's $5,500 to $8,250 per year. And unlike a one-time purchase, that salary increase compounds. Every future raise, every future job change, every retirement contribution is built on the higher base. Over a 35-year career, a single certification obtained at age 25 can be worth $300,000 to $500,000 in additional lifetime earnings. The ROI is almost absurd. Now, you might be thinking, I don't know what certification to get, and that's fair. But here's the framework. Find the certification that the people 1 or 2 levels above you in your industry have, and that the people at your level don't. That's the differentiator. That's the signal that opens the next door. The third purchase is a set of quality kitchen equipment, not a gourmet setup, just a good chef's knife, a cast iron skillet, a quality cutting board, 2 decent pots, and a basic set of storage containers. Total investment, $200 to $350. And this one pays off in a way that compounds silently for decades. The average American spends about $3,500 per year eating out. People who cook at home regularly spend about $2,000 less per year on food. That's $167 per month. Invested at 8% for 40 years, that $167 per month becomes approximately $558,000. $500,000 from cooking at home instead of ordering out. And the barrier to cooking at home isn't usually motivation or time, it's equipment. People don't cook because they don't have the tools, and they don't buy the tools because they don't realize the tools are an investment. The $300 kitchen setup is the infrastructure that makes a $558,000 outcome possible. There's also a health dividend here that's easy to overlook. People who cook at home eat roughly 200 fewer calories per day than people who eat out regularly, according to research published in the International Journal of Behavioral Nutrition. Over a decade, that difference translates to significantly lower rates of obesity, diabetes, and heart disease, conditions that cost $50,000 to $200,000 or more in medical expenses over a lifetime. The kitchen tools don't just save you money on food, they save you money on healthcare. 2 returns from 1 purchase. And this is the part most people miss. These purchases aren't independent of each other. They compound together. Better sleep improves your work performance. A certification increases your salary. Cooking at home saves money that gets invested. Each one amplifies the others. The fourth purchase is a used, reliable, paid-for car. Now, I've talked about car payments in other videos, so I won't belabor the point. But the single smartest transportation purchase you can make in your 20s is an $8,000 to $12,000 used car that you own outright. The average car payment in the U.S. is about $735 per month for a new car. If you skip the payment and invest $735 per month from age 25 to 65, that's approximately $2.3 million. Your car choice in your 20s is, without exaggeration, $1 million decision, and the smart purchase isn't the expensive one. It's the one that eliminates the payment and redirects the cash flow. Now, I know there's a voice in your head saying, but a used car breaks down, it needs repairs, it's unreliable. And sometimes that's true, but here's the math that matters. Even if you spend $2,000 a year on maintenance and repairs for your used car, which is on the high end for a well-chosen used vehicle, you're still saving over $6,800 per year compared to the average new car payment. Over 10 years, that's $68,000 in savings. Invested at 8%, it's over $98,000. The used car with occasional repairs is still massively cheaper than the new car with a warranty. The warranty didn't protect your finances. It protected the dealerships. The fifth purchase is health insurance and 1 annual physical exam. I know, boring. But this is the purchase that protects every other purchase on this list. A single medical emergency without insurance can cost $30,000 to $100,000 and wipe out years of savings in an afternoon. Health insurance is the financial firewall that prevents a health event from becoming a financial catastrophe. And the annual physical, which many insurance plans cover for free, catches problems early when they're cheap to treat instead of late when they're expensive and devastating. The average cost of treating early stage versus late stage conditions differs by a factor of 5 to 10. A $0 physical that catches something early saves you $20,000 to $50,000 in treatment costs later. More importantly, it protects the one asset that generates all your income, your body. The sixth purchase, and this one surprises people, is a quality pair of interview clothes, not a designer suit. One well-fitting, professional outfit that makes you feel confident walking into any room. Cost $200 to $500 at a reasonable retailer or thrift store. Here's why this matters more than you think. Research from Northwestern University found that wearing clothes associated with competence and authority actually changed people's cognitive performance, a phenomenon they called enclothed cognition. People who wore professional clothing performed better on tasks requiring attention and abstract thinking. You don't just look more competent, you think more competently. And in a job interview, where the difference between landing and not landing the role can be worth $10,000 to $30,000 in annual salary, showing up in clothing that makes you feel, and therefore perform, at your best is a direct investment in your earning potential. One interview outfit that helps you land one job at $5,000 more per year has already paid for itself in the first month. And if that $5,000 increase compounds through your career, the $400 outfit generated over $100,000 in lifetime value. The seventh and final purchase is a financial education resource, a book, a course, or a membership that teaches you the mechanics of money, not motivation, mechanics, how compound interest actually works, how tax-advantaged accounts function, how to evaluate investment options, the specific technical knowledge that turns abstract advice into concrete action. The best personal finance books cost $15 to $25. A quality online course runs $100 to $500, and the return on financial literacy is documented. A study from the FINRA Investor Education Foundation found that people with higher financial literacy save more, invest more, carry less debt, and build significantly more wealth over their lifetimes. The gap isn't small. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars over a career, and the input that creates that gap often costs less than dinner for two. Here's a specific way this pays off. Understanding how tax-advantaged retirement accounts work, the difference between a traditional 401k and a Roth IRA, employer matching, contribution limits, can be worth $100,000 or more over a career in tax savings alone. Most people in their 20s don't maximize their employer match because they don't understand it. That's literally free money left on the table because of a $20 knowledge gap. One book, one afternoon of reading, and the return compounds for 40 years. Now, you might be thinking, this is just a list of things to buy, but it's not. Here's the deeper pattern. Each of these 7 purchases does the same thing. It converts a one-time expense into a recurring return. The mattress keeps paying through better performance. The certification keeps paying through higher salary. The kitchen tools keep paying through lower food costs. The car keeps paying through eliminated payments. The insurance keeps paying through catastrophe prevention. The clothes keep paying through career access. The education keeps paying through smarter decisions. And when you stack them, when all 7 are running simultaneously, the compounding effect is extraordinary. Better sleep, higher salary, lower food costs, no car payment, health protection, career confidence, and financial literacy, all operating together for 40 years. The person who makes these 7 purchases in their 20s and the person who doesn't are living in the same economy, working in the same industries, earning similar starting salaries. But by their 40s, the gap between them is a canyon. And by their 60s, when one person is financially independent and the other is wondering what happened, the 7 purchases made in their 20s will have generated a cumulative return that dwarfs any individual investment they ever made. And that gap didn't come from discipline or sacrifice. It came from understanding that some spending is investing in disguise. The identity shift here is important. Most people in their 20s think of themselves as either spenders or savers. But there's a third identity that's far more powerful: the strategic allocator, the person who doesn't just save, they deploy capital. They look at every dollar and ask, what's the return on this? Not just financially, but in health, career, skills, and time. That mindset, evaluating spending through a return lens, is the operating system that builds wealth. And these 7 purchases are the training ground where you develop it. Now, here's where the career impact of this mindset becomes massive. The person who invested in the certification negotiates from expertise. The person who sleeps well thinks more clearly in meetings. The person who cooks at home has a lower cost of living, which means they need less salary to be comfortable, which means they can hold out for the right opportunity instead of taking the first one. The person who has the interview outfit shows up with confidence. And the person with financial literacy makes smarter decisions about equity, retirement matching, and benefits packages. Decisions that are worth tens of thousands of dollars over a career and that most people navigate blindly. Stack all of that together and you have a professional who is better rested, better credentialed, more confident, less financially stressed, and more financially literate than their peers. That person gets promoted faster. Full stop. Now here's the trap I need to warn you about. These 7 purchases work because they're strategic, but the concept of spending as investing can be weaponized by your brain to justify purchases that aren't strategic at all. I need this $3,000 laptop for productivity. This $500 leather bag is a career investment. This $200 dinner is networking. Your brain is incredibly creative at reframing indulgences as investments. The test is simple. Can you quantify the return? The mattress has a quantifiable return in sleep quality and performance. The certification has a quantifiable salary increase. The kitchen tools have a quantifiable savings on food. If you can't point to a specific, measurable return, it's not a strategic purchase. It's spending dressed up as strategy. And the difference matters because the same brain that can strategically deploy $5,000 across these 7 purchases can also blow $5,000 on investments that are really just consumption with a justification attached. Be honest with yourself about which is which. The discipline isn't in spending or saving, it's in accuracy, seeing what's really an investment and what's really just something you want. A useful test. Ask, would I buy this if nobody could see it? If the answer is no, the return you're seeking is social, not financial. And social returns depreciate faster than almost anything. So here's what I want you to take from this. Your 20s aren't just the saving decade, they're the infrastructure decade. The decade where 7 strategic purchases, totaling roughly $3,000 to $7,000 in total investment, can generate returns worth hundreds of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. Not by restricting your spending, but by directing it. You don't have to make all 7 purchases this month. Start with the one that has the highest impact for your current situation. Behind on sleep? Start with the mattress. Stalled in your career? Start with the certification. Spending too much on food? Start with the kitchen equipment. One purchase, one seed planted, and then another, and another, until the harvest becomes inevitable. Because the person who spends $5,000 strategically in their 20s ends up wealthier than the person who saves $5,000 in a checking account. Not because saving is wrong, but because strategic deployment beats static accumulation every single time. So spend. But spend like a farmer, not like a consumer. Plant the seeds that grow for 40 years and watch what happens.